Hello, and you are live on Go Long Live with Barry Long 2. Don't forget the 2. My name is Barry Long the second, and I am live coming to you on CoachellaValley.com as well as today'scalifornia.com. We are also coming to you on Facebook. Thank you to everyone who has been watching the show, everybody who has been sharing the show, everybody who's been supporting the show. Shout out to DC David Carlin. Shout out to James Johnson. Shout out to Sean McNeil, and shout out to Sheila Jameson. So, hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. I know I'm having a great Wednesday. I know Giannis Antetokounmpo is having a great Wednesday, and so are all those fans in Milwaukee. It was a great game yesterday. Of course, we know the Bucks defeated the Suns 105-98. And I knew from the beginning that it was going to be a great day for Milwaukee Bucks fans when I saw this. First of all, the first thought that went through my head was, it's a little cringeworthy because of what we're going through as far as the Delta variant is concerned and all of the COVID mask mandates that are being reintroduced to us here in California. I know LA County just reintroduced a mask mandate. I live in Riverside County. It's probably going to happen soon. So when you see something like this, you're like, man, I wonder how many people are going to go home with the Delta variant after watching something like that. But yeah, there were 65,000 people in the crowd at the Deer District. Now, Fiserv Forum, which is where the Milwaukee Bucks play, that stadium only is able to hold 17,000 people. So they were at standing room only. They allowed, I believe, 20,000 people in the building. So there were some people just standing around, basically. And then you had 65,000 people standing around outside cheering at the top of their lungs, and for good reason. Giannis Antetokounmpo came through with a performance of a lifetime. We haven't seen an NBA Finals closeout performance like that since maybe Michael Jordan when he dropped 45 against the Utah Jazz on the road. 105-98 was the final score. And as you can see, they were pretty even when it came to shooting, when it came to field goal percentage, when it came to turnovers. Everything was pretty much even points in the paint, except one glaring difference, and that was the rebounds. The total rebounds were 53 for the Bucks, 37 for the Suns. And those rebounds, a lot of them were offensive rebounds, and they were second chance points. But the entire game, if you watch the entire game, you could just feel the flow of the game from the first quarter. The Bucks came out with a ton of energy. They looked like they were going to definitely blow them out of the water. They were up by 13 after that first quarter, and you started feeling like, man, this is really going to be Milwaukee's year. But much like Game 5, when we saw Phoenix get out to a 16-point lead after the first quarter, they came back to the second quarter came, and they came back down to reality. And that's exactly what happened to the Bucks. The Bucks were up by 13 after the first, and then they were outscored 31-13 in the second quarter. So when we went to halftime, we had the Phoenix Suns up by 5, and you started saying, man, maybe the Bucks, maybe they used all their energy in the first quarter, and they just ran out of energy. But whatever they did at halftime, whatever adjustments that they made during halftime, shout to Renova. Whatever adjustments that they made during halftime definitely was the difference. And we've seen Coach Budenholzer from the Milwaukee Bucks. We've seen him make adjustments time and time again. And the first series they played against the Heat, they lost to the Heat last year in the bubble. They had to make adjustments on how to defend Jimmy Butler, how to defend Duncan Hines, or that's what I like to call him, Duncan Robinson, how to defend Tyler Herro, because they had shooters on that Miami Heat team. And what they do, they came out and they swept them this year, the first round of the playoffs. Then the second round came, they had to play against the Brooklyn Nets because they were the 3 seed. They play against the Brooklyn Nets, against Kevin Durant, and you remember that series was crazy up and down. It was a roller coaster of a series. They lost by damn near 50 points in one of the games. The Bucks, your NBA Finals Bucks, lost by damn near 50 points. And Kevin Durant was doing whatever he wanted to do with them. He was having his way with them. And you had Giannis after the games saying, hey, Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. No, my guy, you are the best player in the world. And you proved it last night with that 50-point performance. The big 3 came out to play last night. You had to have Chris Middleton perform at a high level. You had to have Drew Holiday do what he always does on the defensive end, and you had to have Giannis come out with a big performance, and he came out with a 50-point performance, 2 assists, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks. My God, 5 blocks. But yeah, that's what he did. And it was amazing. I mean, it absolutely was amazing. It felt like they could not stop him whatsoever. And I think the best part of his stat line was not the 5 blocks, was not the 50 points. It was the free throw shooting, 17 of 19 from the charity stripe. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been under a lot of fire, a lot of a lot of criticism on these past few playoff series with his free throw shooting, with how long he takes at the line, with how bad he shoots. I mean, he's a 54% career free throw shooter. 17 or 19, that ain't 54%. That ain't 54% at all. And it was amazing. It felt like it was his night from the start to the finish. It felt like it was his night. And we also saw a long struggle for the Bucks to get to this point. They both, Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo, drafted in 2013. Been on the team. I believe they won 15 games their first season together. Giannis has been tried to be lured by other teams. Of course, Golden State Warriors, they always want to lure the best players from the other teams, and they want to just continue their super team. He wouldn't go to a super team. He didn't want to go to the Lakers. He didn't want to go play with LeBron. He didn't want to go to Miami. He wanted to stay in Milwaukee, and he wanted to build something great there, and he wanted to win a championship. And that's exactly what he did. So when I looked at this team and the way that they were able to overcome a lot of deficits that they had in these playoffs, down 0-2 to the Nets, they were tied 1-1 with the Atlanta Hawks. Giannis Antetokounmpo goes out with that hyperextension of the knee, and you think, man, this season is over for them. And they just continue to battle. And even without Giannis, in the Game 5 and Game 6 of that Atlanta series, Chris Middleton steps up to the plate. Drew Holiday steps up to the plate defensively, and they end up winning that game and going to the finals. So this team is a resilient team with a resilient head coach. Mike Budenholzer is a hell of a coach. Been in the league for a long time. He coached the Atlanta Hawks for a few years. Even coached them to a number 1 overall record and lost to LeBron. Finally gets a job in Milwaukee. Finally gets a superstar, a bona fide superstar. And he pushes all the right buttons, makes all the right adjustments. In series, in-game adjustments, he makes it all. And this team has finally reached the pinnacle. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch Giannis Antetokounmpo celebrate with Chris Middleton last night. There was one point where they walk over to each other and he's like, yeah, man, we did it. And you're just so happy for these two guys because these two guys stayed the course. They didn't try to do it like everybody else. And it's a small market team. Milwaukee is not a major market. It's not an enticing place for free agents that want to go there. Yet these guys might make it that. They might make it so. I mean, if I'm anybody that wants to win a ring, and I see what these guys were able to do, and I see the leader that Giannis is, how he galvanizes his teams, how he doesn't yell at his team, how he doesn't have an approach like how we saw Michael Jordan in The Last Dance. We saw Michael Jordan be a complete a-hole in The Last Dance, and that's how he got the best out of his teammates. We see Kobe Bryant be a complete a-hole to get the best out of his teammates. We've seen LeBron James be a complete a-hole to not only his teammates, but when he was with Miami, he was an a-hole to Eric Spoelstra. We've seen these guys be jerks and get the best out of their teammates. But last night, what we saw was somebody who played the game with joy, who played the game with humility, who is a nice teammate and got the best out of his team. And you just can't say enough about 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks. I mean, my guy was coming out of left field with some of these blocks. And his ability to defend on anybody. There was plays down the stretch where he had Devin Booker in front of him, and he kept Devin Booker in front of him. Devin Booker wasn't scoring at all. He had a possession where he blocked Chris Paul, where he's matched up on Chris Paul. But the main guy who needs his kudos, his props. And I know he didn't have great offensive games all season, all series long. Hell, all postseason long, he didn't have great offensive games. But what he did was he was the difference maker, and that's Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, if you remember, he came to the Bucks. This is his first year with Milwaukee. He's been around. He's been in New Orleans. He's been here. He's been there. But he never found a team where he could actually win a ring with. And this year, he found that team. And they never found a point guard, Milwaukee, before getting Drew Holiday. They didn't have a point guard that could defend at a high level, that could knock down 3-point shots, and that could facilitate. They had Malcolm Brogdon, who was the Rookie of the Year at the University of Virginia. Malcolm Brogdon was serviceable, but he wasn't Drew Holiday. Couldn't defend. He was a defensive liability at some points. Then they went out and got Eric Bledsoe, who was an offensive liability, who could play defense a little bit, could jump, could dunk, but just wasn't a traditional number one point guard. And he also had to go. So when they go out and get Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday makes that difference. He's willing to take on the best guard that the other team has. He'll take Devin Booker. He'll take Chris Paul. He'll take Trae Young. And what he'll do is he'll come down and he'll assist and he'll facilitate and distribute the ball the way that they need. And he doesn't mind taking a back seat and being the third guy to Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that's what they needed, and that's what they got. And Drew Holiday, my man, deserves a pat on the back today. And you know who also deserves a pat on the back? Bobby freaking Portis. Crazy Eyes. Crazy Eyes had a great game. Shout out to Crazy Eyes. Bobby Portis, just a tremendous off the bench. 16 points off the bench. And they asked him after the game, like, Bobby, what did you like? How are you feeling right now? He basically said that he gave all that he had. Like, he had nothing left in the tank. Shout out to Bobby Portis. It was a great performance, and that's what you're going to need, moving forward, is you're going to need guys like this to fill that role. I'm not sure if Bobby Portis is going to be there next year. I'm not sure how many of these role players are going to be on either one of these teams next year, but I definitely think that it was a great performance by all the role players. You had some great plays down the stretch by Brook Lopez. He posterized DeAndre Ayton. So it was just great to see them celebrate, to see these two who stuck it out together, and they didn't jump ship. It was great to see how well Giannis was received by all his teammates, and how well how wonderful it was when he went into the crowd and he hugged his wife and he hugged his baby, and just to see him cry and know that he really did put his whole heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into that moment. Now on the flip side, it was also a very sad scene, somber scene for a guy like Chris Paul. Now that picture right there is kind of ironic because Drew Holiday is right behind him, and Drew Holiday was literally right behind him all series long. Like Chris Paul couldn't go to the bathroom. He couldn't even poop without seeing Drew Holiday. No privacy whatsoever. Drew Holiday was in his back pocket, and he's right there. And you just saw Chris Paul, 26 points, 5 assists, and he came out a little bit apprehensive. It looked like from the beginning of the game. It looked like he just didn't have that fire. It looked like if the Suns, instead of trying to win the game, it looked like they were trying to avoid losing the game, and that actually hurt them. Now, Chris Paul, I would say, out of all his teammates on the Phoenix Suns, he probably played the best last night. He certainly scored the most, 26 points, 5 assists. I would say Jay Crowder played the hardest. Jay Crowder was up and down the floor. You had DeAndre Ayton, who was in foul trouble for a few key moments in the game, and you had to have some key moments you had to have some good play from the bench from Frank Kaminsky. You had to have some good. You had to have some big play by Jay Crowder. He had to play directly on Giannis a lot of the time, and it was just no match. Nobody can stop Giannis, but Jay Crowder definitely gave you some tough minutes. 15 points, 13 rebounds, and when I said it, like I said at the top of the show, rebounding is everything in a series like this. Phoenix already came in; they were already thin in the front court. They only had DeAndre Ayton and Frank Kaminsky that are actually true centers. And then when you lose Dario Saric, who's a power forward, he's got some size, some length. He can bang down there with those guys. They lost him to a torn ACL. They basically have nobody left but Torrey Craig and Jay Crowder, who are both under 6'8". So they were thin on the front line, and they needed DeAndre Ayton to stay out of foul trouble, which did not happen. And they needed DeAndre Ayton to rebound the basketball, which did not happen. And they needed DeAndre Ayton to catch lobs and to set picks and to look comfortable and play like DeAndre Ayton, the number 1 overall draft pick from the University of Arizona. And that did not happen. DeAndre Ayton came up small. No, them chains ain't small. Those chains are not small. But his play yesterday was small. And I just like this picture because he has rapper chains on. It's ridiculous. And this is after a loss. This is after Game 5 loss, and he had the same chains on last night after Game 6 loss. If you lose, brother, don't wear the chains. But DeAndre Ayton got into foul trouble. He just looked like he wasn't ready for the moment. And as far as from as much as he has been saying about Chris Paul, about how he's prepared them and how they learn how to win because they got Chris Paul, they learn how to treat their bodies, how to do all this, that, and the third. He came up small, and it was a disappointing performance. 12 points, only 6 rebounds. You the tallest dude on the floor. You got to get me more than 6 rebounds. And that's all he was able to muster up was just those 6 rebounds. And it was just a very disappointing performance, to say the least. And Chris Paul, man, we talked about all that he's been through throughout his 16-year career, all the injuries, the Lob City years when they were supposed to be the best team in the NBA, when they were supposed to go to the finals. He got injured. Blake Griffin gets injured. And then he goes to Houston. And then that team is supposed to beat the Warriors. They get injured. He gets injured. So he's been up and down, up and down. He's lost a lot of series where he was ahead. As a matter of fact, Chris Paul is the only player in NBA history to be up 2-0 in a playoff series 4 times and lose 4 series. There's never been another player in NBA history that's been up 2-0 and lost 4 series. So Chris Paul, man, it's just been rough. And they were up 2-0 in this series. And when they were up 2-0, there's a lot of people that said, hey, Phoenix, Suns in 4. And then there were some people who were smarter, people who have lived in Phoenix, who are familiar with the I don't know if it's a curse, but I have a friend, DC, David Carlin, who said that he just wasn't convinced that the Suns were going to win even when they were up 2-0. And shout out to him for being a psychic, for being clairvoyant, first of all. But yeah, and it was just a sad thing for the fans. I mean, they have no championships except 2001 for the Diamondbacks. That's it. Coyotes have not won a championship for their hockey team. The Suns have not won a championship. The Arizona Cardinals have not won a championship. They won an NFL championship like in the 20s and the 40s, but they haven't won anything in the Super Bowl era. So this fan base has been dying for a championship. And for it to go out like that, just a very, very sad moment. Once again, we are live on CoachellaValley.com. We are live on today'scalifornia.com. This is Go Long Live with Barry Long 2. I am Barry Long the second. Don't forget the 2. Now, back to Chris Paul. So Chris Paul has been through a lot. And we talked about how he's been up and down the 16 years. He got injured this year twice in this playoffs. He had a shoulder injury. He was dealing with a broken hand. He got pushed in the back by Patrick Beverly, which could have broke his spine. He's filming State Farm commercials left and right every other day. Jake from State Farm keeps hitting him up. Hey, man, we got another commercial to film. Chris Paul is also an advocate. If you haven't seen the new sponsorship that he has, he's an advocate for Beyond Meat. So he is a plant-based advocate, and he eats those plant-based burgers, those impossible burgers or whatever they are. I think they're disgusting, to be honest. So if they were ever to come to me with a sponsorship, probably have to turn it down. I'm just joking. Absolutely not. But yeah, so we know that Chris Paul has been going through a lot, and he definitely was sad yesterday. They asked him if he was going to retire. He said that he has no plans to retire. He has a $44 million option next year. He's a player option, so he could opt out and choose to go anywhere else in the NBA as a free agent. Or he could stay there and with Phoenix, with the team that he kind of helped mold into a winner, and he could try to run it back and see if they can potentially make it to the finals next year. The only problem is that the West is getting better. The West is getting better. You got Utah, you got Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert over there. You got some role players over there like Joe Ingles that are ready. That if everybody's healthy, because Donovan Mitchell did get injured this year, if everybody's healthy on Utah, they were your number 1 seed this year. Phoenix was the number 2 seed. Okay, you got Denver, who's got Jokic and Murray, and we remember what Jamal Murray did last year in the bubble. Jamal Murray was injured. LeBron and AD, the Lakers. Wait till AD comes back healthy. What if the Lakers get Damian Lillard? Dallas, you still got Luka and company, and they're trying to get somebody else for Luka and Porzingis to play alongside. You got the Clippers when Kawhi gets back, probably in December sometime, and Paul George. So it's not a lock for Phoenix to get back to this point. And after the game, you saw Monty Williams at the podium crying in tears, and we don't normally see coaches in tears. Monty Williams is one of the best human beings in the NBA, one of the best coaches in the NBA, one of the best people in the NBA. And to see him at the podium crying, he said he wanted it so bad, so bad for his players, for everybody. We know everything he's been through. He lost his wife tragically in a car accident in 2016. We saw the man of faith that he is. He's still raising 5 kids on his own, plus the kids that he's got called players. He's raising those guys too. So we've seen what Monty Williams has gone through, and just to see him at the podium crying, it lets you know that this opportunity doesn't come just every year. And DeAndre Ayton was kind of cocky at the podium after the game. He said that this is only his 3rd year, and he's sure he'll be back. Now he knows how to win. Well, any professional athlete will tell you that's ever made it to the pinnacle and not made it back will tell you that just because you got to the finals or just because you got to the Super Bowl and you lost doesn't mean you're going to be back ever again in your career. And I'm not sure that the Phoenix Suns will become a dynasty. I'm not sure. They might make it to the finals here in the next couple years because they do have a young core, but the West is a beast. And let's not forget about the Warriors. The Warriors are still out there. They're still coming back. Clay can still shoot. So this is going to be an interesting offseason to see what Chris Paul does if he stays in Phoenix. If he doesn't, he loves Devin Booker. Devin Booker came up a little bit small yesterday. 19 points, five assists. You wanted to see Devin Booker play better, and somebody hit me up and was like, "Oh man, that's that Kardashian curse." And I'm not sure about all that. I don't know how I feel about that theory right there, but I mean, he is dating the Jenner. He is dating young Kendall Jenner, and there have been some guys who have dated the Kardashians who have had some issues in the past. Oh Lord, sorry, we just lost our tripod. We are gonna get it right back up. This is live TV, by the way. That's just the way it works. That's just the way it goes, folks. That's just the way it goes. So once again, we are live on Go Long Live. I apologize for that. Live TV. We are live on CoachellaValley.com. We are live on today'scalifornia.com. My name is Barry Long. Don't forget the 2. All right, so we move on from there to the big 3. Will we see them together next year? I doubt it. In my opinion is that Chris Paul leaves. And if I was Chris Paul and I want to get to the NBA Finals and I want to make an impact, I am going to go and I'm going to join. I'm going to opt out of my contract and I'm going to join the Los Angeles Lakers if I'm Chris Paul. That is just my opinion. Now, next year, they have set up Vegas has already come out with the finals prediction. They are predicting it to be the Lakers versus the Brooklyn Nets. And if we have not forgotten that the Brooklyn Nets probably would have won the championship had everyone remained healthy. If you had a healthy James Harden, if you had a healthy Kyrie Irving, you damn sure had a healthy KD. But KD was out of gas by the time that they got to Game 7 against the Bucks. But the Bucks, they went to Game 7 in overtime against the Nets. So you add James Harden and Kyrie Irving to that team, that series probably doesn't even go 6. So let's be honest. There's no dynasty forming here on either side. I think that the NBA, and this is what makes the NBA fun. This is what makes the NBA fun. Parity around the league. When you have different teams that can win, different teams that are competitive, that have an actual opportunity to win the finals, and it's a toss-up once we get there. Because for so many years, we knew it was going to be Cleveland versus Golden State, and it was a lock for 4 straight years, and it wasn't fun. The regular season wasn't fun because you just waited to see even the playoffs. You're like, okay, I know who's going to win this series. I know who's going to win this series. I'm just waiting to see the final series. This the NBA is starting to shape up like we're going to see different champions every year, and that's what I like to see the most. And that's where we hope that the NBA can go. Now we have saw some Team USA basketball news that came up yesterday, and obviously Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday are going to join Team USA. I've been very critical of Team USA to begin with when they came out for their exhibition games. They lost to Australia, they lost to Nigeria, and I was just very critical, saying that the roster wasn't built to take on this international game. And we've seen a couple of guys withdraw. We saw Kevin Love withdraw. We saw Bradley Beal withdraw. Those 2 roster spots have been filled with JaVale McGee, 7-foot JaVale McGee. JaVale, what the hell, McGee? He is an essential part of this team now because of his ability to be a 7-footer. But we also saw Bradley Beal's roster spot be filled by a young man named Keldon Johnson. Now, when you saw that, you're probably like, who the hell? Who the hell? Well, Keldon Johnson plays on the Spurs. He's a very, very good young wing player, and he defends well. And he is a clutch player going back to his days in college. So be on the lookout for Keldon Johnson. He might make a contribution. Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks was really trying to campaign to be a part of the Olympics, and for some reason he got overlooked. I don't know why, but in 4 years when we ask him, hey Trae, you want to be on the Team Olympics now? He might turn us down because they turned him down to begin with. Hopefully he doesn't, but because that would be phenomenal to see Trae Young in the international game. But yeah, so Zach LaVine was out for COVID protocols. He is now returning to the team. He will fly over along with Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Devin Booker to Tokyo on Friday. So we're gonna start seeing some superstars. I don't know if they're gonna be tired because they were just coming out of the NBA Finals. I don't know if they're gonna be, they're gonna be like still conditioned. It remains to be seen. But these guys were just battling. Devin Booker was just battling against Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, and now they're going to be teammates. It's going to be very, very awkward, to say the least. But, I mean, I think we're adding some firepower. We've seen what all these guys are capable of doing. Drew Holiday is going to go over there and defend. Whoever's the best guard on their team, Drew Holiday is going to go out there and defend and shut that guy down. Chris Middleton is going to shine with his mid-range game. And when you talk about mid-range, you can't leave Devin Booker out of that. Devin Booker's got a mid-range game too. So I like Team USA when we added these 3 guys. Milwaukee, today is Wednesday, and Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday got to leave by Friday. So y'all better hurry up and plan this parade. Get it cracking, because those guys want to celebrate with you, and then they want to go and win a gold medal. And how amazing would that be to win an NBA Finals and then go right around and win a gold medal? It don't get no better than that. Now, this is Go Long Live with Barry Long 2. I am Barry Long the second. And the meme of the day is brought to us by NBA Online. It says, Devin Booker on his 12-hour flight to Tokyo with Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Just sitting there in the middle, like, oh man. They're gonna be all smiles. He's gonna be like, oh man. He's gonna be sick to his stomach. But at least he has a chance to win something, a gold medal. So it has been a wonderful, wonderful show. We will have some guests. We will have some guests on Friday. Excited about that. Also excited to announce next week some different places, some different locations that we'll be doing the show live from. And we'll be having some giveaways, and we'll have some fun stuff, some contests and stuff that can interact and engage our listeners and our viewers. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank today'scalifornia.com for the platform. We want to thank CoachellaValley.com for the platform. And just thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all the support. And remember, you're capable of anything. Stay focused, stay inspired, stay motivated.